Hello, Rooted.Wings community. Welcome. I am so excited for this live. We have Sharon McKeeman is going to join us any second now, and I'm so excited for you to meet her, to hear what she is all about, this amazing organization that she started, she founded, and then the progress of this organization. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I'm hoping that she is going to bring you encouragement and give you some ways that you can also step in and get involved. And then she's going to tell you about the lawsuit against the state of California that Let Them Breathe has filed jointly with, I think it's called Reopen California Schools. She's going to tell you all about that, so let me grab her. And she'll join us in just a second. Just briefly, because we just had some more people join on, just in a nutshell, again, you were homeschooling and then you were doing the charters and then everything went into shutdown. So go ahead and just walk us through that again real quick and then we'll move on.
So I have a lot of experience with all different forms of education. I've been a public school educator. I have done, mentoring. I have been a homeschooling parent, a charter school parent, and then we moved into the public school system very shortly before schools closed down. I was at the forefront of the school reopening movement and was part of the group that filed the lawsuit that successfully got our schools open. And then I founded Let Them Breathe, and we've grown to over 20,000 people already. We're growing very quickly. And we filed another lawsuit to end mask mandates for all K through 12 students, to address the asymptomatic testing issues, and then also the close quarantine issues that we're seeing are just becoming, more and more of an issue now that the kids are back in school.
You're such a force. I'm so proud of you.
We have to do it.
Yeah, we do, because if we don't do it, no one is coming to rescue us.
Yeah.
And I'm so impressed seeing just this movement of moms, the mama bears who are stepping in and becoming active. I really wanted to have you on to not only share what you're doing, and we'll get into the lawsuit, but I also want you to encourage moms who maybe feel like, where do I start? I don't even know what to do. I don't feel like I have the tools. I don't have the direction. Can you give some encouragement for moms who might be feeling that way?
Definitely. What I'm seeing is kind of two different mama bears right now. There are the moms that have been involved this whole time, and they're getting tired and they're starting to feel like giving up. They're starting to feel just really heavy and hopeless. And then there's the moms who just woke up and they kind of thought everything last year was temporary. They just woke up and they're running around trying to reinvent the wheel. Oh my goodness, what do we do? And a lot of them have a lot of passion, but at the same time, they're kind of putting everything on their shoulders and feeling overwhelmed. So, to address both of those, for those who are in it for the long haul and they're getting tired, I hope that they can look around and see that even though we haven't seen all the results that we want yet, the communities are growing and vibrant. And, this came down to a legal battle last time. And even though it's not going as quickly as we want, in the grand scheme of lawsuits, our lawsuit is still moving very quickly since we asked for an emergency injunction. So, the legal system takes some time to catch up when there are injustices. And so for those, I would just say, hang in there. We need you. They have the experience. They've been involved, and come alongside other moms that are just getting involved. And then for those who are just kind of waking up and going, oh my goodness, what has happened? What world are we living in now? They don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let Them Breathe has so many resources available. Literally, if somebody wants to rally, all they have to do is email activism@letthembreathe.net, and we have a Let Them Breathe flyer that we will customize to their time, date, location, any info they want to put on there. You can see the signs. We have shirts. It's, basically we've got a rally just all ready to go. We just need the moms and dads to step up and help host these. And we've had like 10 to 15 across the state, many days. I mean, we've had hundreds, probably thousands of rallies by now, but on any given day, you can look on our website and see up to 15 rallies happening on a specific day all over the state. And then we also have resources. So we have you don't have to come up with your own email to send your school board. We have a legal team that has put together a email template, a resolution to ask your school board to pass. And a lot of parents are hearing, well, school boards are concerned about getting their funding pulled, or superintendents are scared of getting fired. Our resolution, they can't get in trouble for. It's literally just asking them to advocate with us. So those are just a couple things that we have available. Obviously, we have tons of resources on our social media. We have a radio show because we're seeing more and more censorship here on IG and Facebook. So there's just a wealth of what we've kind of come together with our legal team and provided parents. And we're hoping that parents won't just show up and use those resources, but they'll contact us and let us know what their skill set is and how they can help. We've had graphic designers reach out, and photographers, videographers, all of these parents that whatever they're at, they've come in and said, how can we help the movement? And it's really a special team we have.
Yeah, and your website, I am just going to double down on that, is amazing. It has incredible resources. It is so thorough. I'm checking it out now. Don't leave and go check it out. Check it out after. But I will repost this. I know a few comments are coming in that, am I going to repost this? Yes, I will download and repost it. It will be available for you to share. And we hope that you will share and get the word out about this amazing organization and what they are doing. The website is letthembreathe.net, and there's a whole section dedicated to the resources. And one of my top 10 questions I get is, I don't know what to say at a board meeting. I don't know how it goes. I don't know how to prepare for that. This is your helping hand.
Exactly.
And at this stage in the game, moms, I'm telling you, it is about us just stepping outside of our comfort zone and getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And the resources on your website are such a gift to be able to step into the uncomfortable and not feel like you're free falling, but
exactly.
To feel like I actually have some talking points and I can be intelligent and I'm not going to be completely like a fish out of water. So make sure to check that out. And then Sharon, I love that you are so passionate about this. This isn't just like, oh, I'm just doing it. You are living and breathing what you are doing. Can you talk a little bit about the mission behind Let Them Breathe? Like I've checked out your website and I know what you've told us, but give it to us in a nutshell what the mission of this organization is about.
Well, we are all about choice. And so, we have a very diverse group. We have parents that are absolutely, I won't say the word since we're on Instagram, against the you-know-what. And we have parents that their kids got the you-know-what so that they could unmask. And both of them are concerned, and they're coming together over choice and over, these concerns over what the masks are doing to our kids' mental health, their social development, and their academic progress. And something from the very start, what I learned with the school reopening movement is people can argue with numbers. And we've got tons of data in our resources section. We have a spreadsheet that we add great articles to. The resolution has a bunch of the data on, the science behind why masks aren't necessary and why they are harmful. But we found that people can argue over that, and it's really hard to argue with a smile. And so that's why we have smiles on our t-shirts and our signs, because that's what it's really all about. There hasn't been another generation that has had their smiles covered. Mm-hmm. And we are seeing as parents the emotional fallout right now with our kids, but we have no idea what the long-term consequences of this are going to be. And there have been no long-term studies over it. So something that during the school reopening movement, when people, well, just wait a little bit longer. No, every single day, more damage is being done to our kids. And that is why it is so urgent. But at the same time, there's so many emotions going on right now. I mean, I know I've had plenty of days where I'm just crying and praying behind the scenes. But I really encourage parents, when they speak at school board meetings, don't just yell at your school board. The resolution and the email template that's in our resources section under the school board advocacy, people can pull from that if they don't know what to say. And there's also, if they scroll through our Instagram, there's a picture of me in this shirt behind a podium, and it's got about 30,000 views so far, but I'm speaking at a school board meeting. And that would be a great video for people to watch and share to kind of get an idea of how to firmly call out our school boards, because they like to pass the buck to the state. Yes, we understand there's a mandate. That's why we've done the school boards a favor and we've sued the state. However, there are elected representatives, which means they still have a responsibility. And then I laid out for them what that responsibility was and what we're asking them to do. So that's something at every rally I encourage people. Don't just go in there and go off on your school board. Find something that you can thank them for. Even we were just in Encinitas, and I said, thank your school board for meeting in person, because you know what? I went to Vista and they violated the Brown Act in 3 different ways in the way that they shut down their meeting and didn't even allow any public eyes on it. So at least acknowledge if they're doing something right, but then, you know, we have to call them out on it. This is no longer 2 weeks to flatten the curve. This is a serious crisis our kids are in.
What is the response that you've been getting when you've been going to these school boards? I know that the one that you just referred to wasn't great, but overall, what is the feedback you're getting from when you go to do these rallies?
Well, I think the overwhelming majority are just parents that are so thankful, because I know the hardest thing when you're going through something is to feel alone. And it's crazy to me to realize, because I am so connected now with the freedom fighters in our community. I know that all over the country there's people standing with us, but there are still parents that feel alone. The kids definitely feel alone behind their masks every day. And so that's the overwhelming majority. There are, you know, for instance, in Encinitas, we had 2 city blocks full of parents and kids. There was 1 lone protester on the other side of the street. And anytime I can, I try to respectfully dialogue with someone who doesn't agree. We have people reaching out saying, hey, it's gone on so long. I was for masks, but now I kind of want to understand what your side is. But I think that oftentimes that the other side, I've gotten some pretty hateful messages. Those have normally been anonymous. Normally, if it's in person, it's someone that is saying, well, we're concerned about safety, or, you know, they might call a parent that's mask choice selfish or dangerous. And what I try to tell parents is, if you're for choice, if you're concerned about what masking is doing to your kids, you're not selfish and you're not dangerous, because we're concerned about safety. The pandemic that is deadly to our young, you know, to our children and even our young adults, sadly, is what we're seeing, is the mental health crisis. And, you know, I won't go in depth, but we know there's been tragedies in communities all over the state. And thankfully, our kids are at very low risk from the virus. So, you know, I think that's what we're seeing, is just this really increased concern over that mental health impact on our kids.
Yeah, I mean, I go to data because that's what I do. And when you look at the stratified survival rate for kids is 99.998%. And then we know, because of the German study that was done back in 2020, that kids act as a brake on transmission. And then you throw into the equation that we have an injection protection for anyone who wants it. So what the heck are we doing? And I know that if it doesn't make sense, then there's something behind it that doesn't make sense. And as a mom, if it's not making sense and that burden is resting on your kids, then as a mom, it's your responsibility to step in and to fight that, and to not just sit by and think it's going to go away. Because like you said, we don't know the long-term repercussions. We don't know the effects this is going to have long-term, and the damage being done now that we're going to have to correct long-term on these. It's a whole generation of children in our state. So I just applaud you for what you are doing with all of this. The big thing is this lawsuit. So talk to us about what's going on with the lawsuit.
Well, real quick, before I get to that, I want to just throw in something there based on what you just said, which is that, you know, those who feel that the, you know what, will protect them, they have that option to get it. And so I think that's something that's really important whenever people are talking to people, just to know, you know what, there's choice all the way around. And everybody has all the choices right now. And I think something, when you're talking about it not making sense, I hope that it's becoming clear to people that this isn't about safety. Because if our government cared so much about safety, what is happening right now in Afghanistan would not be happening. And I think it's very clear now. And either they don't care about the safety of people of a certain color or a certain culture, or they just don't care about safety at all. So either way, there's something going on there where our government is. I think it should be clear to everybody now. And I think maybe some of those parallels weren't as clear last year when people were just saying, well, it's about safety. So that being said, yeah.
I want you to follow up on that, because when we talked a week ago, you were telling me how, because you're military background, and you were telling me how Afghanistan and the covering of faces was reminiscent of what we're doing here. Can you touch on that, since you just kind of started in that direction?
Went on that tangent, yeah. So yeah, my husband's served in the military for almost 2 decades. And I remember when I was nursing little babies, single parenting, while my husband was in Afghanistan, he would call on a satellite phone, and sometimes the line would just go dead and I wouldn't hear from him for a few weeks. And the only way I knew he was still alive was I hadn't had a knock on my door. And during that time, something I could hold on to was, well, if in any way he's helping women be more free, if he's helping families be safe, if he's helping women, if they choose to cover their face, that's one thing. But if they don't want to, allowing them the freedom to uncover and to get an education, then I was thankful that I could be part of that in any way. And so I think I did have that was part of my response. I saw the unscientific issues, but I also saw that issue of, there's no way my daughter in this country is going to be forced to cover her face when there's not a good scientific basis for it, when I know it's unconstitutional. And I just posted on our IG recently, there was actually a CNN reporter who the Taliban basically was at gunpoint with her, threatening her, and they were telling her to cover her face. There's still a virus over there. We hear CNN reporters here telling us to cover our faces. And it was so obvious that it was an act of aggression by these men on her and an act of oppression that she would very briefly cover her face just while she was talking to them. And then the second they weren't threatening her, she would take it down. And it's like, if that isn't clear, that when our kids are trying to unmask at school, it's because they feel oppressed. It's because they feel threatened. It's because as humans, it's just an innate part of us to be able to smile and express ourselves freely. If someone can't see that correlation, then apparently that's why we're in the mess we're in. So
it's very, very clear. And I think that connection is so relevant right now, and it should be sobering, because we are doing that to our children. Yeah. And it is an oppression, and it is dark, and it is defacing and dehumanizing, and they're kids. They're kids. They are told, kids are going to be resilient. Well, show me the long-term study that shows
they're also developing and vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing that we can pin on, oh, we've done this before, and so they're going to be they're going to get through this. This is a grand experiment on our most vulnerable, and a country will be judged by how it cares for our most vulnerable. And when what we are doing is anti-scientific and it's dehumanizing and it's oppressive, then there's a reckoning coming. And I am thankful to be standing on the front lines with you and with others who are on the right side of history. So I want to move into how you've taken it a step further. You're not just showing up to the school board meeting. You're not just creating these amazing websites that are so thorough in information, but you're suing the socks off the state of California. I love that. So, and as everyone knows, I am hugely not a fan of Newsom or the CDPH. So talk to us about that.
So yes, we have sued Governor Newsom, CDPH, doctors Ghali, Aragon, and Bardick. And those are the kind of decision maker doctors. And so our argument is that there is not a scientific basis for masking children, and that there is plenty of evidence that this is harming our children, and that our kids have a right not just to an education, but an effective in-person education. And so this is basically the same argument that we made for school reopening with the social distancing measures and the, crazy tiered system that was keeping things closed. And the judge ruled in our favor. And the state actually tried to say, well, we know distance learning is inferior and that the kids have a right to an education, but it doesn't say, the California state constitution doesn't say they have a right to a good education, just some kind of education. And the judge right there stopped her and said, no, I think they have a right to a good education, and then wrote a 10-page ruling to back that up. And we have the same judge now. So we are hopeful. There's, this is a crazy climate right now, but we have top mainstream medical doctors submitting declarations in the lawsuit. We have parents detailing the damages to their children, and we know the judge she really took that into account, the kids' stories of what they were going through. And so, yeah, if we win, this will end the mandates statewide in California. It would set precedent for other states that are being more restrictive. We know that there might still be some school districts that try to be restrictive, or more restrictive than the state. But last time it kind of set a precedent for the majority of them, except, we know LA is just always going to be, LA Unified is always going to be an issue. But in the meantime, our legal team is also just equipping parents and, families with what their rights are. So we've uncovered some interesting things, like I don't know if you're aware that CDPH basically on Monday put out a threat letter. They went beyond just offering their edicts, their health guidance that's now become just this form of tyranny. And they're so concerned about our lawsuit and kids being non-compliant and parents speaking at school board meetings and school boards actually standing up and saying they're on our side, that they put out this threat letter. And everything in it was very unscientific, very legally unsound. And it was just to intimidate schools and even teachers individually and tell them that they could receive punitive measures if they don't enforce. Well, our legal team is going to be putting forward a letter probably by tomorrow at the latest to kind of rebut this, because the California Education Code actually doesn't really let schools have a good way to enforce the mandate that the California Department of Health is handing down. And I think we've tried to educate parents, but listen up, guys, if no one has heard this yet, this is important. California Education Code section 48900 lays out, there's only a very small list of rule breaking or acts of defiance that a student can be suspended or expelled for. And peacefully unmasking is not one of those. If a kid gets aggressive or is cussing, then they could say, but if a kid is just peacefully sharing their smile, the California Education Code section 48900 protects them from being suspended or expelled if they're grades K through 8. And I've also spoken to a lot of school board members that have said it's difficult to expel a high school student even for really egregious acts. And so if a high school student actually was threatened with being suspended or expelled, Let Them Breathe would be there with our legal team to help support them. So I know of a first, third, and fifth grader, all in the same family, who these kids have been so brave they went to school sharing their smiles. They refused to go home when they were told to go home. Now they're even refusing to leave their classroom, and they're staying in class, and they're, taking part in their constitutionally protected education. And, I know of another 8th grader who he actually did go home when they told him to go home because he'd unmasked. And then he decided, okay, I'll try to keep the mask on. And when he went back, they wouldn't even let him on campus, even if he was trying to comply. So our letter is going out basically saying, we understand there's a mandate. That's why we've sued. However, school districts can't enforce in a way that's discriminatory, harassing, that violates the education code. And the school districts that stand on the right side and say, okay, there's a rule, and we'll enforce, we'll counsel, we'll hand out masks if need be, but we won't try to separate a kid or intimidate them. Those school districts are on the right side of the law and science, and we'll be there to support them.
So do you have any idea when the hearing date, do we know yet when you're going to have this heard?
The minute we know, everyone will know. We are waiting on the edge of our seat to hear the hearing date, and we were hoping that it would happen before the first day of school. It hasn't happened yet. However, the good thing about requesting this emergency temporary restraining order is that if we get a favorable ruling and that is granted, then it would go into effect pretty much immediately, and it would keep the state from enforcing this mask mandate. So for those that ask, how can we help? We don't need a bunch of lawsuits. There are other parts of the state that if a lawsuit was filed there, it would be a less favorable court and could have a less, have a judge that, is looking at a different community. The court that we filed in is a more conservative community. And so really the best thing that people can do is, if they're a medical professional or an educational professional, to email smile@letthembreathe.net and submit a declaration outlining what they know about the harms of masks. If a parent has something really compelling that has happened to their kids, like the harms to their kids have been just really extreme, they can also do that. We have a lot of parent stories already. And then they can give to our legal fund. So if they go to our website, there's a big button to support the legal fund. And thankfully, people have been really generous, and we've been able to get this off the ground. But what we do know is, if we get a favorable ruling, it may be challenged. If it was reversed, we would have to appeal all the way through the California courts. And we know that basically the rest of those would not be as favorable. And so we would have to probably file in federal court, but we know that court, we would really stand a good chance there. So we're hoping that we just get a favorable ruling like with school reopening and it stands. But if not, we are preparing to take this absolutely all the way. And we're, again, working with that legal team that already beat the state at their game once. So, we're feeling really confident.
It's so exciting. And this is how we affect change. This is how we push for change. A lot of times I get questions about top-down democracy, bottom-up democracy. It's both, and that's why the recall is so dang important, because with schools, there is the aspect that there is state funding that is allocated to schools, and the governor is on top of that budget. So not only do we want a governor who's going to kill all the mandates, locally to the top, but if they don't, then they can leverage the funding that's allocated to schools. So we want a governor who's going to be sympathetic for getting the masks off our kids and for medical freedom. And so that's the top down idea. And it's really important to do your research, research for the top down. But then from the bottom up, it's what you're doing. It's the parents stepping in. It's the citizens coming in and getting their claws out and getting dirty, because that's how we keep freedom, and that's how we preserve it for the next generation. And if anything, all of this chaos has taught us that we can't sit on the sidelines and think that freedom just takes care of itself. Mm-hmm. It does not. It bit by bit, it can be taken away, and we have to continually preserve it. And in using the legal system, that's preservation too. So what you're doing is amazing and inspiring. So one more time.
Would you like to break some news? Okay. So as of this week, I have officially also founded Let Them Choose. And we are going to be sharing this on our same social media. So no one has to go to a different, social media or website at this point. It's all going to be rolled out through our same channels. But this is going to be, so Let Them Breathe is a nonprofit. Let Them Choose is going to be, it's a 501c4. So it will actually be an organization that we can, like you're saying, have even more political impact. And where we are starting isn't so much with political impact, but you brought up medical freedom, and we are for choice all the way around. And so any teachers or school staff that are concerned about these, mandates, the V mandates, the injection mandates, please reach out to us, because we are going to be we've had so many people reach out to us that our legal team is also, it will be a separate funding, separate lawsuit, but we are going to be taking action for our teachers as well. We know that there's a lot going on with, healthcare workers and everything, but we feel like if we're taking action for our students, we need to have an avenue for taking action for our teachers as well. Because you know what, if we trust them with our kids' education, we absolutely should trust them to make their own healthcare decisions. So there will be more about that coming out over the next week.
You are absolutely amazing. And what an incredible thing you are doing, because that's the whole comprehensive picture. You are advocating for the students and for the teachers, for freedom and for them to be human and to be American. You are, I'm so excited that you broke that. What an awesome thing. So that's called Let Them Choose.
Yes, and they can still just come to all of our social media. At some point there may be a separate website, but right now this will all roll out through our letthembreathe.net website and our social media to start with.
You're awesome. I am so excited that we got this time to talk. Okay, so one more time for those who want to get involved with the lawsuit aspect to help you out with, because that is costly. And then you also were talking about submitting stories. Can you cover that one more time? And then also one more time, just cover the Let Them Choose if people want to get involved with that.
Yes. So right now, any teachers that are concerned about these mandates, they can email smile@letthembreathe.net to connect with us. And then any medical professionals or teachers that would like to submit a declaration for the mask mandate lawsuit, same email, smile@letthembreathe.net. And that the declarations are just 1 to 2 paragraphs of what they're seeing as a professional as far as the harms of masking, and the flip side, the positives of unmasking. And if there's any parents that have just a really specific, compelling story, they can also send that to smile@letthembreathe.net. And then, just on our website, there is a tab that says lawsuit. You can read the entire complaint. It's very therapeutic to read it all laid out and argued that way. And it also has a link to our GoFundMe. There's also a button on the main page. If you look for the gavel on top of the mask, that's where to go. And, if any amount that anyone can give to the legal fund just helps keep this moving forward. The more that's in our war chest, the harder we can fight the state. We definitely don't want to have to settle on anything just because we didn't have the funding to keep pushing. So,
That's a great way too for people who are looking for ways to get involved and maybe have stage fright, or they don't know the words to speak, or they're in a different state. This is a great way, throw a few dollars in, and a little bit does go a long way. I am going to link all of those things below. So once this is posted, give it a few minutes to upload and do all of that. And then everything is below. So check that out. And then if you have questions for Sharon, what's the best avenue for them to get in touch with you or your organization?
So again, they can find everything on the website. Our Instagram is really, everything important is going out on our Instagram. If there's a last minute rally, that'll be found on our Instagram. So, just head on over and follow Let Them Breathe. We also have a Facebook group, and they can access that, through the website as well. And smile@letthembreathe.net is kind of our main email. If they send email to there, it will get to the correct place. We also have an awesome team member on our DMs and our Instagram, so they can contact that way as well. And I just want to say, we're hearing so many stories where parents are we know that everybody is going through so much. And so if anybody reaches out and they don't feel like we've fully addressed specifically what's going on with them, that's because it's covered under the broader lawsuit, and we have to really keep focused on that effort. But I encourage everyone to reach out, because, we hear from parents, oh, this is happening at this school district, and then we're able to break that news and make them look bad in the media. We're not just trying to go around and make people look bad, but, inform the media what's happening in a certain school district. And then we are looking at making an example possibly of some certain school districts that are really just going even way beyond what they have to with the restrictions and really harassing children. And so if we can find multiple families in one school district, then or one county, that would be helpful. So just share, and we're just gonna, just keep keep pressing. We're not going to
Yeah.
give up until we make this happen for our kids.
I think the take home is you are the tip of the spear when it comes to schools right now and the freedom of our students and our teachers now, which I am so excited for. But for any of you who are going to watch this or watching now, if this is a concern of yours, which most likely it is, everything going on in our schools, Let Them Breathe is the organization to back, to get behind, to step into the ring with. You guys have such a comprehensive website, so go there. The link's posted below. You can find so many answers to questions, good talking points, where to get involved, where the rallies are. So I think that that's the take home at this point is, if you want to get involved, this is your girl. This is your organization. They are breaking ground and they're doing the good work. You are on the right side of history, Sharon. I am so thankful for you and everything. You don't get anything out of this. This is an incredible amount of time for you to be doing what you're doing. But at the end of the day, you will have brought us into that right side of history. And that is something to celebrate and the hope really in everything you're doing. So thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time with us. For sure. I'm excited about this lawsuit. So once you know the hearing date,
yes, you'll be the first.
Let us know.
And we'll chat on September 8th. And then I can't remember what is the Saturday after. Whatever the Saturday after September 8th is, everyone will get to hear you on our radio show. So
that's right.
Yeah. That's where we talk about all the things that Instagram and Facebook would censor, and we don't have to use these code words. So that'll be fun.
We can say all the bad words.
Right. Awesome.
Okay, Sharon, you're amazing. Thank you. You guys go follow her, go find her website, fund the lawsuit. And Sharon, thank you so much again.